Jenna Mitchell's last captain liked to say Zoom. Lieutenant Ortegas has been workshopping Vamoose, and Spock would like the ship to go now. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today, the wait is over. We are doing a review of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 2, Episode 1, entitled The Broken Circle, written by Henry Alonzo Myers and Akiva Goldsman, directed by Chris Fisher. What a surprise. What luck. We have executive producer and director Chris Fisher here as our special guest. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Welcome back.
Finally, right, Cirroc?
Yeah,
it feels like the wait's been forever.
Yeah, it's been a big wait. You know, I don't think it's a big secret out there that this is one of our favorite new shows out there.
So good.
That first season was just like, you know, you had us hook, line, and sinker, and I've been anticipating this second season. So I'm excited to get into this.
Very quickly, speaking of seasons, this entire second season of reviews has been sponsored by our good friend Anna Post. So big special thanks to her and congratulations on the new baby, Anna. Well, Chris, this was like a year ago, so hopefully you remember all this. The excitement has been palpable. First things first, do you remember coming back on after however long it had been, a year in between seasons, and what the feeling was like when you started shooting episode 1 of the second season? Were people excited? Was there a nervousness of like, okay, we've got a lot to live up to? Do you remember what the feeling was like?
Yeah, I mean, we certainly were riding a high based off of audience reactions, and you know, some of the really big swings that Akiva and Henry took, you know, including to make a show that was not heavily serialized and episodic by nature, and having a big genre of the week and trying to create, you know, 10 great Star Trek mini movies. You know, I'd say that was the thing that I think everyone, including the studio, was the most nervous about. And of course, at least from my understanding of audience reaction, that was the thing that people sort of loved the most. It's felt so fresh again to be making episodic TV, especially episodic Trek television. So I think coming into this episode, into 201, we were really feeling that, wow, that was really a home run. The audience was they really dug us making these 10 big Star Trek movies. So let's do more of that. I would say if there was any mantra coming into 201 was, let's really go make 10 new movies, and let's start with this sort of Raiders of the Lost Ark type of vibe of an episode.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Some of the things that I noticed when I was watching this was the kind of grandioseness of the sets. I felt like they were huge when they were on the Klingon world, little colony. It felt like that was a big space. The mining set, even I felt like an upgrade on Pike's communication quarters when he was talking with Una. Can you give us a feel of the sets that were designed for this season?
Yeah, I mean, the big, you know, I wouldn't say there's any big changes in the way that we designed sets or, you know, designed and built our worlds. The unique thing about Star Trek Strange New Worlds is that we are the first show that was ever designed from day one to utilize this AR wall technology. So what you saw season 1 was us learning that technology. And I hope from episode 201, what you will see in that episode and for the rest of the season is us understanding that technology. And really putting it to good use. That there was certainly a fear factor going into season 1, like, hey, here's the keys to the Ferrari. I don't have a learner's permit. Yeah, what do I do with this car? But we learned really quick. And as successful as season 1 was with using AR technology. We took a huge leap forward, I believe, season 2. And we took a lot more risks and really asked a lot more of this technology for our storytelling. So I think that's what you'll see, especially in the creation of Khajiitar and the different looks we got in Khajiitar. You had a day look, you had a night look, you had a bazaar, then you had a medical tent, and then you had this secret meeting area where our crew makes their reintroduction to Lon. So all that stuff is, the use of the technology really became something we felt really comfortable with. So what do you do when you feel comfortable with something? You push it and you take risks with it. And that's what we started doing in 201. So the scale and scope of our show is 100% due to AR technology. And wow. I think the most dramatic visual improvement you're going to see season 2 is exactly how we use it.
It's amazing. Wow. I mean, it does look like I was noticing the same thing. Like when we're on that planet, we're thinking, how big is this set? Where are they shooting this? What's going on? How did this happen? But it's unbelievable. You guys are knocking it out of the park. And here's something that I could have mentioned earlier, but everybody needs to remember that Chris Fisher here also directed the final episode of season 1, A Quality of Mercy, I believe it was called, and it won the Lappy Awards for the best new episode in Star Trek. That's out of 51 episodes, so big congratulations there, and thanks so much for joining us during the live Lappy Awards. But this episode got me excited from the very beginning because I love number 1. I love Una, okay, and I love Pike. But I always get excited when the captain's gone or the captain first officer's gone. And we can kind of shine a little bit more of a light on the other characters. And you're also forcing the characters to step up. Spock needs to step up. La'an needs to step up, because they don't have the captain in charge. As a director, is that something that's a little bit more exciting to you to kind of sink your teeth into focusing on these other characters like that?
For sure. I mean, look, Anson is just incredible. So, anytime you come into a premiere episode and say, hey, Anson just had a baby, he's not going to be really available for this episode. You have that concern. Hey, how do we pull this off? But then, when you have a roster as deep as we do with just these incredible players, it's really awesome. So it was definitely exciting for me. It was definitely a challenge too, just again because Anson is such an incredible actor and Pike is such a great character. But yeah, I was kind of constantly torn. Because of course it really is Spock's episode, but then, hey, it's really kind of Mbenga's episode. And then, oh, wait, it's really kind of Chapel's episode. Oh, shoot, it's also Lon's episode. So, every time I was doing a scene with one of them, I was like, this is really your episode. This is your episode. And they're like, well, you just told that to Ethan yesterday. Also Ethan, we're very inclusive here. There's no, doesn't have to be a zero-sum game. It's a win-win. But yeah, that was, again, and I like, I think, it came from sort of the necessity of, of Anson just had a baby and he needed to spend time with his kid. And so we knew that, of course, we had 9 months to prepare for that. So our showrunners wrote an episode that just kicked the door down as terms of fun and action and really leaned heavily on what makes these other characters so awesome. But yeah, when I was kind of toning the episode to direct, one of the things I like to do as a director is really kind of make sure I'm aware of what that inciting incident is to kind of really make a turn in the story. And ostensibly the inciting incident is this distress call that they get, but really what the inciting incident is Pike leaving the ship. So after that scene with Pike and Una, and he goes to meet this new character Neera, who we meet in episode 2. To me, that really was the inciting incident. So I tried to kind of really create some sort of undercurrent of tension and gravitas when he leaves the ship, he leaves that moment. I didn't want to tip the hat too much, but I really felt like right then most Trekkies are thinking, oh shit, now what's going to happen? But of course, that really fun scene with Pike and Spock is Spock wasn't ready for it. He's like, don't leave me, he was showing all his emotional baggage from 109. And so yeah, that's a long way of saying it was, I think it was the most fun way to start the season, to really lean into our roster of characters and talent that we have on the show, and let them take some big swings.
Yeah, that answered my question, because I was going to ask how you were able to get away with not having the captain in the whole episode. And that's the reason why. It's a perfectly legitimate reason. That just leads me to, did you have to alter what the script was going to be, or did you use that preparation time to kind of in advance write it out?
Yeah, in the we obviously, Anson was very upfront, many months ahead, saying here's my
timetable.
Birth of my child is right when the show's supposed to start, and I don't know what to do here. And of course, we saw that obstacle as an opportunity, and an opportunity for like you guys said, for all these other characters to shine. So no, it was always from, Kiva and Henry knew exactly the episode they wanted to write. But yeah, I mean, certainly there were conversations with the studio, like, how do we pull this off? Again, luckily we had the other characters ready to go.
Yeah, you also had a lot of. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
Yeah, you also had a lot of fight choreography in this, and I wanted to ask you about that as well. Benga and Chapel, I mean, we're basically kicking ass and not taking names. And I wanted to ask you if that was, what kind of preparation was done with that choreography wise, and if that was the bulk of the shoot.
So that's a really interesting question, because there was actually probably 5 to 10 more minutes of fighting that ended up on the cut room floor. I think ultimately, from a director point of view, and working with Babs and working with Jess, we created this whole arc in the fight to do all these really great things. But when it got to when I turned in my director's cut, Akiva and Henry found some of the fighting to be superfluous. So the answer is yes, and there was much more of it, and it got pulled back for story reasons. But that was a huge part of this for me. I think, I really wanted to have this, like, movies like The Raid. I really wanted the fighting to be on a whole new level. Not least of which because we sort of tease this backstory between M'Benga and Chapel, that they've used this hypospray before, they've used this substance before, which is a really great backstory to tease, and which will be explained a little bit more in the season. But I wanted to show that they're really good at this, and that they're badasses, and that I really wanted, they're both, Babs is one of the best jiu-jitsu masters in the world. So he's an incredible fighter, internationally famous fighter. And Jess is just incredibly athletic and passionate. So we rehearsed for many days.
You mean in real life? In real life?
Yeah.
He's one of the great jiu-jitsu fighters?
Babs is one of the greatest jiu-jitsu fighters in the world. And we didn't know that before we hired him either. We had a director come season 1, and her partner does jujitsu, and he couldn't even really. She couldn't even really talk to him. She was so nervous. It was like meeting Bruce Lee or something like that. Wow. In his world, he's super famous guy.
Wow.
Yeah, and we didn't really use a lot of jiu-jitsu type of fighting, but him and Jess did, I'd say 99% of everything you see. They did themselves, working with our incredible stunt coordinator, Neal. Neal just did a phenomenal job with them. But yeah, it was a huge part of the episode. Pretty much the whole Act 4 is this one big, or Act 3 is this whole one big fight sequence. Yeah. But yeah, if I had my way, there would have been more of it. Even I love that. I love the fight.
Wow, that's cool. So Dr. Mbenga is one-stop shopping. He beats you up and heals you up, right? It's like he does everything for you.
Yeah.
And everybody at home, did you catch what Chris said? We will find out what that substance is at some point this season. So because I thought about that, I was like, they better tell us this season. I don't have to wait till next year for that. But
I don't know if you find out what the substance is, but you'll find out how they know how they know about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot.
It's Incredible Hulk juice. They got it from Incredible Hulk.
It was green.
You know, it's so funny that you say that, because the one of all the millions of genres that have been tossed around for this show, the one that has never been tossed around is a superhero episode. So we really wanted to make sure this didn't ever feel Marvel-like, and we didn't. Yeah. We wanted them said, hey, this, let's call it adrenaline, let's call it something, but let's not. It's not a superpower, and let's not let this become a superpower type of thing. And so that was sort of the balance of how do we show that gives them this drive and this strength and this precision that is more than being just human, but how do we keep it from feeling like Captain America or something like that? We don't want to go into that world. So that was sort of, I said, the balance, the line of back and forth tonally for the fighting was to make it incredible, but not to veer into superhero kind of Marvel-esque type of action.
Speaking of which, Chris, is there a genre that as a director you would like to direct, like a Star Trek episode, a genre that has not been delved into by Strange New Worlds, or just by you as a director in general?
Well, I mean, I come from horror. That's my, I said I'm purely a genre filmmaker, and sort of in the pantheon of, my holy trinity of horror, fantasy, and science fiction. The one that kind of combines them all would be, I'd love to do a noir episode, like a really heavy noir Star Trek episode. Something, if I got to pick, that's what I would choose.
Wow. That would be great. I want to see that.
I know. I'm picturing it now.
It'd be great to go back into black and white or something like that. That'd be just something really fun to do.
I wanted to ask you, this episode was dedicated to Nichelle. And it seems after the fact, since it was a while ago, but I guess this was recorded at the same time. Is that why the dedication was made at this point?
Just to be totally honest, because I haven't seen the cut for a year, I haven't seen the dedication. But yeah, I think the obvious, reasons are there. It just the timing of her passing and the first episode to air since that.
Absolutely.
So Chris, we only have you for a couple more minutes, and we really appreciate you, by the way, taking the time today on a beautiful June afternoon. But is there anything you can say to the fans about season 2? Something to look forward to, whether, is it bigger and better? Is it more, are the episodes more varied? What are we looking forward to here?
Well, kind of to tie up, to bookend what we were talking about with what coming into this episode. So we really felt the positive vibes from the fans from, truly being an episodic show. And the challenge with that is that there's always these serialized arcs to service. I mean, for example, here, we didn't see Lon since 109 when she left with Oriana. We had to service that. We did, and 110, which we see Una get arrested and taken away for being an Illyrian. We had to service that, and then we have to have a big bad for the season. So we have this arc with April that we revealed, and it's about the Gorn. So we had to service that. So I would say the challenge for our show, and what I think you'll see, is that we don't give up serialized character arcs, and we maintain those serialized character arcs. But I think what Akiva and Henry and the writers really did an excellent job of season 2 is embedding those serialized arcs into the episodic genre. So hopefully when you're watching this 201, when you're watching this episode, you're feeling like, wow, this is a great standalone movie. But you're also servicing all these character arcs, and you're telling really deep and emotional character stories. But it's sort of a magic trick. Like, look over here, we're kind of filling that stuff in to these great standalone episodes. And I think you're going to see more of that season 2. We definitely take bigger swings in terms of the genre of the week. There's episodes which are going to very much surprise you, and I wish I could say more, but I can't. I think there's a couple episodes towards the end of the season that are truly going to have people saying, wow, I cannot believe they did that. And again, that's really a testament to the fan reaction. I think it was to know that people loved what we did just really gave us a lot of confidence in doing it more. So bigger, better, more beautiful, but also more genre, more of a feeling that, like, hey, this is a Star Trek movie. It might only last 60 minutes, but this is a standalone movie.
Mm-hmm.
And awesome. I got a yes or no question for you on the way out. It's all for all the Gorn lovers out there. Are the Gorn lovers going to be pleased with this season?
Yes, but I know that's a tricky one because I have seen some of the. I'm not immune to reading a lot of the fan reactions, and I know some people wish or think the Gorn should be less a creature and more a character. And that's one thing I feel like, if you have a sec to talk about, I'd say one of the big challenges for this episode for me as a director was reintroducing Klingons. Because whereas I personally loved the look of the Klingons in Discovery, that look wasn't going to work for us because we're a character-driven show and we need Klingons who could actually emote emotion and not have so much prosthetics and visual effects. So we really kind of moved the Klingons from a creature into a character, and that was our sort of thing. And I still think, as you'll see for the season, the Klingons, it's sort of we come back to it in different ways, trying to maybe even tone them down a little bit more. But going back into the Gorn, I think people who love what we're doing with the Gorn will be happy.
Okay.
We'll take it.
I don't want to say too much more.
That's a good enough tease.
But yeah, the whole arc with April, sort of kind of tracking this we kind of play it. We don't really know what he's looking at. We don't know what he's dealing with. We just know he's distracted by something bigger than this distress signal. We're definitely setting something up that will, I think, is going to be delivered in a way that will be really exciting.
Yes.
Great. Looking forward to it. And Chris, yes. Just wanted to reiterate that I'm really appreciative that you mentioned the character development, because that's something we noticed last year, was that, yes, it's episodic, but the characters and the character development is serialized, because so many times back in the day when things were episodic, everything resets back to one, including the characters. But in this is more like real life. So even though this is the episode where they visit the Klingon place, or this is the episode where they switch with lower decks, or this is the episode, fill in the blank, the character development continues forever. And so this is one of the first times you see an episodic show that says, last season on Star Trek Strange New Worlds. It's like, see, it's not fully episodic. We are getting character arcs, and it's beautiful. It's a fantastic way to do it.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I think, Akiva and Henry really became, more confident and convinced that it's really working. So I think that's, and more of that, like you'll, and again, it's the sleight of hand, the narrative magic trick is, of course, is making you feel like you're watching a standalone movie, but the characters are growing and building, and you're falling in love with them. If you watch, a season 5 of a hit show, mostly by season 5, the shows are really just doing character stories, because at that point the audience really just cares about these characters. They've lived with these characters for 4 years, so now they just want to be with their characters. And that's one of the things that happens when you do serialization right, and you tell characters that grow and change and learn. And of course, the beauty of doing a prequel is that we know where all these characters are going to go. We don't know how they're going to get there. And I love how Henry and Akiva, when they love to make the audience think that they're going to zig and then they zag, and then they're going to zag and then they zig. So believe me, we do all these, there's a couple fun things in here. Like we talk about Corby, but look, all I can guarantee you is nothing that you think is going to happen in the way that you think it's going to happen. And that's the cool thing about doing a prequel with these, brilliant showrunners, is that, we all know where this is going, but you have no idea how you're going to get there.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, we're super excited about it, and we really appreciate you taking the time again for us, Chris, and for the fans. This is really cool. First episode's a home run. We're looking forward to 9 more home runs or grand slams along the way. But thanks again, Chris. We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right, and everybody, stick around. We will be right back and talk about this episode a little bit more on the 7th Rule. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 7th Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
As you know, my name is Ryan T. Husk. This is Strange New World, Season 2, Episode 1. We're having a ton of fun about it. Very special thanks to Chris Fisher, director and executive producer. Here are the trivioids of the week. The Enterprise is in space dock at Starbase 1. Spock is acting captain of the Enterprise. Spock is experiencing stress, even if it is atypical. Nurse Chapel is applying to a fellowship on archaeological medicine. Kajatar is a prodigious dilithium mining planet on the edge of Klingon space. See, those last couple, I was like, there's no way I don't want to embarrass myself in front of Chris and mispronounce everything. It's been 100 years since Commander Pelia has gone off with engines of her own. Ensign Uhura pegs the Commander Pelia's accent as Lanthanide. Jenna Mitchell's last captain liked to say Zoom. Lieutenant Ortegas has been workshopping Vamoose, and Spock would like the ship to go now. Commander Pelia says the worst thing about living almost forever is the boredom. And lastly, Spock is hungover. All right. Yeah, we didn't talk about Commander Pelia yet. We didn't get a ton of her. We got an introduction, but guess she's going to be the next Hammer. So she's probably going to be in most or all episodes. And they called her, what was the accent again? The accent was...
Lanthanide?
Yeah, Lanthanide.
Lanthanide.
Which I had to listen to like 3 or 4 times to make sure, because I didn't recognize that. But I did look it up on Memory Alpha, and it says lanthanides are a series of elements such as gadolinium, cerium, neodymium, and samura, whatever. The crystalline entity left lanthanides elevated levels of vitreous matter, hydrocarbons, and nitrates in its path. So I don't know if I'm spelling that right.
What that means. We need Mohamed, Dr. Mohamed Noor here to
for real
give us a.
It kind of sounded like they said lanthanite, but I looked up, the closest thing I could find was lanthanide. Maybe it's just going to be added later. So it's still a mystery, is the bottom line there.
I thought it was landonite. But we got different things out of it. I didn't have the closed caption up, so I was just going off what I could hear.
Yeah, same. And I listened to it several times, and I'm still not 100% sure how to spell it, because I thought it said something like, Landonite or something like that. So we'll see. We'll see what it turns out to be.
I wanted to ask about that actress who's playing her, though. She looks so familiar. It says her name is Carol Kane.
Yeah, she is hugely successful in the business and very well known by people other than you or me. But apparently, from what I hear, she's very famous, very well known.
Okay,
and very
now I know where I know her from. I'm glad that I did my little homework here. I used to watch a show called Taxi with Danny DeVito,
right,
growing up,
and
one of the main Andy Kaufman, and Andy Kaufman played a character named Lodka, and he was one of the taxi driver mechanics, and he had a girlfriend who used to come in there and speak whatever language that Lodka spoke, which was a made up fictitious language trying to be like an Eastern European language.
Kind of like Meepos on Perfect Strangers.
Right, like that. And so Carol Kane played Lodka's girlfriend and always made these grandiose entrances on the show Taxi. And she was very memorable on that show. And that's why when she did this show, she used a very similar accent to the one that she used on that show Taxi that I watched growing up years ago.
The character's name was Simca Dublitz Gravas.
Yes. And if you listen to how she spoke in that character on Taxi, you will see the origin of this accent that she's made up here.
Very interesting.
Which is completely like really cool that somebody decided to kind of use that kind of a trope from Taxi. Mm-hmm. I like that.
That's cool. Iconic show. I remember it well. Never watched it, but I remember it existing.
It was a great show. Danny DeVito was awesome in it. Judd Hirsch, I think, was in it.
Judd Hirsch, that was the other guy. I was picturing him, but couldn't remember his name. Yeah.
Also, Tony Danza was in that show.
Oh, wait. Hey, yo. I didn't know he was in that. He was in Who's the Boss? I know him from that, where he'd be like, Angela, Samantha. Kept adding an R in their names. Anyway.
Yeah.
Look, the point is, Robert April is worried about the Gorn. So we're going to get, that wasn't really the point, but but we're going to get some Gorn stuff. And obviously the Gorn are the big bad. They are, Voyager's Borg. They are Next Generation's Q. They are, whatever Enterprise's Xindi or the Suliban or whatever. They're Deep Space Nine's Dominion. So this is going to be really exciting to have, because I don't want them to have all these guys that we've already seen a bunch of times. I want to learn more about the Gorn. I'm very happy that they've chosen the Gorn as a species to expand upon and to make them the big thing. So I'm actually really excited about that.
Yeah, and I know TJ Jackson-Bey is excited about it, so shout out to him.
Shout out to TJ.
Resident Seventh Rule Gorn. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be good to see, when they really get into the Gorn and how they behave, how they act. We want to get to know more about them. This episode, I thought, did a pretty good job of, it's a difficult task to be able to start this season off without Pike. He carries the show, the bulk of the weight of the show. He's the star player of this franchise, and having him absent and it's still carrying the story with Chapel and Benga and Spock is a difficult task that I think they accomplished well. Ortega is great at these one-liners. You know, I want more story development because they kind of want to feed her one-liners so that that's the one jokes that you walk away with. I
Can I
love the
just
line.
add the one? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. What was the line?
No, I was gonna say the line is when Ortega says, "I could, but should I?"
That's exactly. I have it highlighted in my notes. That was what I was going to say. Can I just say the line that I thought she
Yeah.
delivered so well? And
Yes.
it's so funny. That's the one that you said. But that was it. I was like, wow, it was perfect. She said I could, but, and then she looks at Spock. Should I? Because there's so many different ways she could have played that. As you know, as an actor, you could have done it, sternly or suspiciously or overly comedically, but it was perfect. It was a beautiful way to deliver it. I don't know if she delivered it the same way on all 8 takes or if she gave them something different and they said that's the one. But whatever it is, yeah, I agree. A+ on that line delivery right there.
I said the same thing. Great delivery. I thought it was fantastic. It's funny because it doesn't take much. It's like literally a small line.
Mm-hmm.
But when a small line is delivered well and somebody's at home watching it and it's like, well, I believe that delivery. I believe it. What she layered in the context of her delivery was, you're giving me directions on how to break the rules, right? And I could break the rules, but I need permission to break the rules from my captain.
Yeah.
So it was fantastically delivered. And I thought, wow, she's exceptional. La'an also, we got more La'an. You know how I feel about La'an. I
Me too.
Can't get it. I can't get enough of her. I think her face is just excellent. It's the camera loves her face, her facial expressions, the tone that she sets. It's like the seriousness, and when she does want to be playful, it switches on for that moment, but then she goes right back to that serious, which I really like. And then M'Benga and Nurse Chapel. I mean, what a combination that they are. They could be like a real, adventure couple. Like I'd follow their stories because they seem to have a good chemistry together. And that was one thing that picked up in this episode. I really felt their chemistry, the looks that they were giving each other, the concern that I felt like he had for her when he was looking at her, registered for me in the way he portrayed that. So I thought they did an exceptional job. I like the scene with M'Benga and Chapel when she kind of comes up to him and says she senses that he's having difficulty because he's having flashbacks of the war and kind of the trauma that he's been through in his life, and she's sensing that. And I thought that was a sensitive, really kind of good character moment between the two of them.
Yeah, they've got great chemistry together, and that's something that they're given to us that we don't often get, which is 2 main characters in the medical field, right? Bashir didn't have somebody to bounce off of. Friendship wise, it was Chief O'Brien. Professionally, sometimes it would be Dax because she's science officer, right? Beverly Crusher. She didn't. Later on, she has a few times you have Nurse Ogawa in there. But usually the doctor is just out on an island by themselves and they have to, come onto the bridge and give them their expertise, or the storyline goes into, sick bay and you see the nurse of the week that has like one line or something like that. And it really kind of does that entire department a disservice because there's so many interesting things that can go on in the medical department, the medical field and all that. So I think it's really cool. I really appreciate it. And I'm very happy with the fact that we have Dr. M'Benga and Nurse Chapel, and they're 2 very fleshed out characters. It's not like there's the main character and then that kind of like the secondary character. We're getting 2 good, fleshed out, well-written characters that are well acted and that are getting storylines. And that's one of the things that's made me happiest about how they decided, the soup, the ingredients of the character soup that they put together, like, first officer, captain, chief engineer, doctor, nurse. I think I'm just really happy with the fact that they've done that and really liked what they did in this episode, honestly.
Yeah, and then they gave him some also the other thing that they did with this substance, this hypo spray that they took.
The
They
Incredible
showed
Hulk spray.
yeah, the whole hypo spray.
Yeah.
They gave them more action. And usually when you see the medical personnel, they're usually in a less action related kind of theme, right? You don't really
Yeah.
see them kicking ass and taking names and just, being a total badass. They're usually there um, just around, but not the one who's initiating this kind of physical stuff. So that was another kind of flip that they break from the norm to show the medical Starfleet guys actually engaged in the same kind of action of saving the ship and hijacking a ship and going through those kinds of things. Those are usually reserved for the number ones and the captains and
Yeah.
the away team, non-medical people. This is the medical away team.
And the good news is that we know that they can obviously continue to do this. The writers can continue to incorporate this because we know that we get that green juice that they can use again. But they also know that, look, Jess Bush is athletic and in good shape. So I'm sure she's happy and excited and eager to do this and more. Babs O, I'm going to call him Babs O, is a jiu-jitsu master. So clearly they can do this as often as they want. Now, Chris Fisher mentioned they weren't doing jiu-jitsu, of course, but he has very good control over his body. If you are great at a martial art, you have excellent balance and flexibility and hand-eye coordination. So of course he can make it look good. Of course he can make it look real. He's not just relegated to only doing jiu-jitsu. He can do all that other stuff and make it look great because he has full control over his body movements. And it looked great.
Yeah, and Jess is amazing though. Going back to her, super athletic. And I thought she looked marvelous in these fight scenes. Like I was ready. I'm like, well, she could be an action star when the way she looks. She fits the role. I enjoyed that little interrogation scene with the Klingon where Benga's kind of beating up on him. He's losing it because he's getting personal. And the Klingon says, I will never deck 13.
Yeah. All Benga had to do was be like, what? He's like, okay, deck 13, bro. Enough.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. That was funny, a nice moment. And also, shout out to Chris Fisher. I didn't get a chance to compliment him on this, but there was a shot that he did I really liked. It was when Benga and Chapel were climbing into that hatch that they opened. And Chris decided to turn the camera upside down. They crawled through the hatch, and then he turned it back again. And I thought, that's a cool kind of, it put a little flair on just the basic, climb through a hatch and end up on another spot. I thought it was a nice little touch that he did directing.
Absolutely. When I see stuff like that, all I think is, it's a lot of camera rehearsals. That's a lot of, hang on, camera rehearsal.
Yeah.
No, stand by. Camera rehearsal.
Gotta get it right.
Yeah, there's a lot of technical stuff to get done there, but it looks great. The end result is that he and the camera department have something they can hang their hats on. And everybody at home, please be aware of how much work gets put into that. Not just the camera work, not just the director, not just the rehearsals and the actors, but also lighting. The lighting needs to just, you can't just have the lighting one thing. It has to be lighting this angle and that angle and all this. If the camera's moving, that all needs to be compensated for. So that's a whole team effort. But the end result is there's something that's cool forever that you can look at forever and say, that's badass. So yeah, big shout out to them for that. I'm also very upset that Chief Kyle is gone forever. I knew this would be the case. He's replaced by Chief J. I'm sure Chief J is wonderful, but I will forever miss Chief Kyle. I hardly knew you. You would.
No,
you
just want to rub it in because you know I love Chief Kyle so much.
I know.
Maybe he'll be back
I thought
someday.
Chief J looked real young and spry up in there, and made an on-screen kind of ripple when he finally came on. He's a young,
Yeah.
slim, eager guy who looks like
Yeah.
he's going to do well in the academy.
Yeah, I'm super excited about Chief J. But one day we'll see Chief Kyle come back and he'll be like, look, I'm not a transporter chief anymore. Okay, I'm a commander of a starship or something like that. We'll be like Commander Kyle.
Is chief like an actual ranking?
Well, it's what they I believe it's kind of like an unofficial way that they call the transporter chief, Okay. Every transporter chief they kind of call chief. And then Chief O'Brien in Deep Space Nine, they still kept calling him that, even though he wasn't the transporter chief in Deep Space Nine, but he got that from Next Generation, from being the transporter chief.
Okay. So it comes with the transporter job, the transporter chief.
As far as I know, yeah. And that's the most times we've ever said chief in 2 minutes on the show. Chief and John. 20 times. There was a new Federation ship class that I hadn't heard of. Crossfield class. That was the ship that was destroyed. Crossfield class, for all the people that love the ship porn. This was a new class of ship, I believe. Maybe it's not, but it was interesting to see it for a second. They also kind of introduced the notion of a false flag operation. If you'll notice there, and people that know their history know that is quite an effective tactic that governments love to do.
Yeah. Crossfield class. So those classes of ships, they're just referred to the size and how many people and weapons it holds. Is that pretty much it?
Yeah, it's like different sizes, different styles, and it looks like it's not a new one. I'm looking it up right now. It looks like it has been in existence already. It was new to me. Anyway, so that was here's what it looks like. Just real quick. And this is consistent with what that ship looked like in this episode. Is it? Kind of looks a little different. Anyway, just interesting to me. Crossfield class. What did you think of Helia? That is our new person. I know you're talking about the actress, but now it looks like that's going to be our new chief engineer, right? I believe that was what they said.
Yeah. She's fun. That's what I think.
That's what I think we're going to get from her. Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to get humor and fun. And, everybody can't be a serious character. There's a lot of seriousness on that show. Mount is serious, slightly playful, but more on the serious spectrum.
La'an is serious. Yeah. Una is serious. I mean, they can all take their hair down every once in a while. But yeah, you're right. For the most part, they're,
Banga is serious.
Yeah.
Ortegas is the only one that's more playful.
She's always got that smirk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What was it?
So I think she'll be fine. A nice addition.
This was another kind of a side note, no pun intended, but that theme song is so freaking good. And when they played it in this first episode, I was reminded of how wonderful that theme song is. It's gorgeous. It's a total Star Trek theme song. It's kind of like a play on an old one, but it was just great. And I just wanted to point that out, that I'm very pleased with. Everybody.
I thought the music was good in this episode. There were moments there when I thought the music was carrying a lot of stuff too, because there were moments with no dialogue, and it was just running down hallways and the music helped carry those moments along really well. I was going to ask you because Chris brought it up, the Klingons. The Klingon look to me, makeup wise, felt a lot more polished and smoother. It seemed less ridgy, less kind of, bumpy, and more like a real kind of smooth look to it.
You
What
mean
did you think?
compared to the Discovery ones, or compared to like the Deep Space Nine ones?
A bit compared to Worf, basically, who I
Yeah,
to be
the ridges were a little bit more curved and a little less sharp, right?
yeah,
Because
right.
the Klingons from Deep Space Nine, they had the ridges that were kind of sharp and almost pointy, and these were a little bit smoother, a little wavier. Yeah, that's Klingons are very varied species. We've seen so many different kinds, and this is going to be the Strange New Worlds kind, I guess. It's going to be very close to the Next Generation, the Deep Space Nine ones, but it looks like they're going to be maybe a little bit smoothed out, or maybe it's just this bunch and the next episode will be totally different, or maybe this is the first time we'll ever see the Klingons and the only time ever. But yeah, it's us, we see Klingons, we go like lean in and go, okay,
Let me look at your forehead. Let me take a good look at that.
What are we talking about here? Is this
how long is that hair? Where does it start?
We get really into it. Star Trek fans love that kind of stuff. So next we have to presume that we are going to see what Pike and number one are up to and what's going on there. Feels like that's kind of almost like the second half of this first 2 episodes situation.
Yeah, that was another thing I was going to ask you about. It felt like a 2-parter to me. Like, this feels like they took an episode and made it into a 2-part. It did feel like it was an unresolved, even though there was some resolution at the end. It still felt like
it feels like there's a 2-episode story arc connecting the two, right?
Yes.
And so I wonder if episode 2 is just going to be focusing on, Pike's adventure or what's going on with number one, or if this is a 3 or 4 episode arc, even. But obviously we need some resolution there. Are they going to be bringing back La'an onto the Enterprise here? I feel like they are, right? I feel like we're bringing her back, because remember, she left at the end of season 1, but I think this was them bringing her back in. I don't think there's any more convincing that needs to be done, right?
Yeah, it looks to me like she's back in. But I wanted to, there was a little bit, nitpick wise. One of my nitpicks was Spock not trying to contact Pike in order to inform him of the scenario that he's faced with and that he was going to steal the Enterprise. I felt like there should be an attempt to try to fill him in on things and say, hey, I'll be right back. I'm going on a little quick mission. Don't worry, everything will be fine.
Yeah, Spock is pretty roguish. He's known for his brash decisions. But yeah, I mean, that's true. But maybe he had to kind of keep it super secret. Maybe he's like, if there's going to do communications, people might pick up on it and know what his idea is. But we're definitely seeing a lot of Spock's human side, which is consistent with the Spock of Discovery, the Spock of the JJ movies, the Spock of the original series, is that he's half human, but everybody calls him Vulcan. Nobody ever says, typical human to him. They always say, typical Vulcan. And they never say, oh, that's your human side. They just focus. It's so weird. It's like this thing where we all know he's half human, yet everybody just says, nah, you're Vulcan. And it's probably because he presents himself as Vulcan. He's got their haircut. He's got, their way of acting and talking. He definitely presents himself as a full Vulcan. So maybe they all just kind of accept that he, presents as a Vulcan. So we'll just call him a Vulcan. Nobody ever goes like, yeah, but you're half human, bro. So make a joke.
Yeah, I mean, he presents himself as Vulcan even in this episode because
Right.
several times he says, as a Vulcan, I don't lie, and I think he repeated that several times in this episode that Vulcans don't lie, but humans do, and you're half human, brother.
That's what I'm
So
telling you, man.
you
Like he
could
could just
lie.
use that.
It's possible.
He could be like, I'm a Vulcan. I do not lie. And then when they walk away, we're like, but I'm also half human, I'm also human. So just fooled you, bro. Anyway, all right. Well, this was great. I'm super excited about this. I'm just like, I feel like it's been forever that we've been waiting for Strange New World season 2, and I think everybody's going to go ballistic for it because it's going to be an amazing season.
Yeah, and I also want to give one more shout out to the wardrobe department in this episode because some of those outfits were really amazing. Like Mbenga's jacket that's behind you, I want that jacket. That it's like a Matrix, Lawrence Fishburne from the Matrix, or Neo from the Matrix. It's a sweet jacket. And then all the Klingons were dressed up. There was a lot of wardrobing going on in this episode, and kudos to them for really knocking that out as well.
Yeah, hard agree there. The wardrobe's been amazing so far. Really, really good. And I know it's going to get a lot more attention.
We should get somebody from the wardrobe department on this to interview in one of these episodes, because I think that would be great to just hear about some of the inspiration there.
Absolutely.
I love the styles that they're coming up with on these new shows.
Yeah, hang on one second. If I remember correctly, I'm going to check her name. Bernadette Croft, is it? That does the wardrobe. Let me check. Well, that's a lot to scroll through. I think that's what it is. But yeah, I'd love to have her on too. I mean, the work that they do is just unbelievable. It's just outstanding. From episode to episode. And if you'll notice,
from episode,
when they do different genres, they
like
also
the Renaissance period. Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And that's, the wardrobe is knocking this out of the park. They should be winning some Emmys as well.
Mm-hmm. Trying to find it real quick, but I can't see it. Anyway, well, everybody at home, if you can confirm or deny that when it comes to the wardrobe department, let us know. So I'm checking. Oh, no. This is something I didn't know. Gersha Phillips also did costume consultant on 3 episodes. And I believe Gersha Phillips was the costumer for Discovery. So that's pretty cool. A little crossing over there. Wonder how many other people have crossed over. Pretty interesting. All right. Well, let's move on. This was a lot of fun. Really looking forward to 9 more episodes of this. Everybody at home, let us know what you thought of this first episode. Let us know how excited you are for season 2. And tell us how much you freaking love the costumes. I guess that's about it, right? Let's give a special thanks to some people. What do you say, Cirroc?
Let's do it.
All right.
It is Bernadette Croft, by the way. Costume designer Bernadette Croft. So you are right.
Yeah. We met her at Star Trek Day last year, I believe. I believe it was last year that we met her at Star Trek Day. She was at the VIP party afterwards. So shout out to her and her amazing department. Great work.
Yeah.
All right. So very special thanks to Homer Frizzell, Dr. Anne-Marie Segal, Eve England out in Wales, Yvette Blackmon-Tom, TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri, the aforementioned, Bill Victor Arucan, Titus Mohler, Darlena Marie, Dr. Mohamed Noor, Tierney C. Dieckmann, Anna Post, Anil O. Polat, Joe Balsarotti, Mike Gu, Dequeue, Neal, Akasaka, Justine Norton-Kertson, Dr. Stephanie Baker, Carrie Schwent, Faith Howell, Edward Foltz, my live from Tokyo, the Matt Boardman, Chris McGee, Justin Weir, Jake Barrett, Jane Jorgensen, Henry Unger, Allison Leach-Heid, Julie Manisfee, Nikki T, Dr. Susan V. Gruner, who just returned from Turkey and Greece, lucky, and of course, Jason Okun. Thank you all very much. I think that's it for us. We will see you next time on The Seventh Rule.